So I have a question for both Professor and for Coach Tad here. How do you guys feel about athletes or jiu-jitsu players that train at multiple gyms? They switch around and maybe they'll go from white belt to blue belt in one academy, go to blue belt to purple belt in another academy, and then et cetera, et cetera. So how do you guys feel about the people that cross train and keep constantly switch schools? Do you have any opinions on that kind of a jiu-jitsu practitioner?
Well, I think there's two almost two questions to it. If you want to lift, you're not going to do that. I run a school. I don't run a gym. So if you want to lift, you're going to have to go elsewhere. I run pretty much pure play BJJ school. I do have MMA kickboxing because I think, almost any, including jiu-jitsu, if you're going to fight MMA, you will have to adjust everything, wrestling, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, as well as striking. So the guys that actually fight MMA, we have a couple of classes a week where we try to sort of make it in more MMA sort of centric, whether it's striking or grappling. But I have, if you want to train Muay Thai, you can go to a Muay Thai school. So if you separate that from the other issue where people bounce from one school to another, I think, when absent moving for family or job reasons, but if you bounce it around, I have yet to see, I think, somebody high level that constant bounce around has benefited them. Sometimes people will switch teams because there's a falling out. There is, as they grow, they join a school and kind of certain environment, and as they get more senior, they realize not quite what they thought it was. I'm okay with that, but if you change school 5 times, the problem is with you. And I don't believe it's going to benefit you because, it's any time you go, think about, if you go into a university, and I really like to think of going to a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school is difficult. It's, it's cerebral. You have to, have a character. Sometimes things don't go your way. It's not easy. But if I were to go to university, it's the same thing. Like if you're a kid and you go from university, first year is going to be rough, and then you sophomore and you adjust and things. But if you were to switch every semester or every year at different university, I don't believe that in the long run, and that it's going to take you more than 4 years to assuming that you're in the right university that meets your needs, that that you're going to be, just constantly switching around, that you're going to be smarter or have your educational needs better met if you bounce around 6 schools versus staying in 1 or 2, So that's my view.
Yeah, I guess so to just tag on to that, I completely agree in the aspect of sort of the bouncing around. Like you say, the university comparison, I think, is a very good comparison. So a university has a curriculum set for its students, and there's a sort of a sequential plan of we're building upon the previous lesson, things like that. So I would say like the bouncing around, like do a semester here, do a semester there, do another semester at another place, I think is not going to be the fastest avenue or the best avenue for a person to develop. But I do think that that's a little bit different from the cross-training aspect. So sure. If a person wanted to have a membership at 2 different academies, maybe there's an academy that specializes in no-gi leg locks, and there's the other academy, maybe their focus is more in the gi or, a specific, maybe a sports type of jiu-jitsu. So in that regard, like I think that if, like for me in my academy, if a person wants to train with us and wants to train in other places, they're completely welcome to do that. But a couple things need to be, I think, established up front if you're going to do any kind of cross training where you're attending multiple academies on a regular basis. And one of those is, who is your primary instructor? Who is the person who is going to, give you your next promotion and things like that? Who's
going to answer for you, basically?
Right. So who's basically vouching for you is one major, thing. And if you as a student are doing the cross training, you need to communicate that, and you definitely need to communicate to, both of your academies, or as many academies that you go to, that I'm attending classes here to supplement my training at my primary school. And something that absolutely has to happen is all of the professors that you visit, they need to be okay with that. And if someone disagrees or whatever, then that's when things, you can't necessarily say this is the way it has to be, absolutely, and you can't dictate that to anyone. But I personally don't have a problem with cross training, so long as you do it respectfully and that people are agreement. But I going back to the bouncing around, you get your blue belt from here, go get your purple belt from there. That can be a little bit disrespectful to the person who is investing time. Like Professor Fox is talking about, like, he's putting in a significant investment in his students. And I'm not speaking for you that this is your opinion, but if you spend a lot of time with someone and they say, oh man, thank you so much for this purple belt, I'm going to move on and try to get, my brown belt from someone else or from a different academy, then you're kind of like, okay, well, why is it that, like, well, that's a little bit of a slap in the face. I've put an investment in you. But
I don't necessarily mind if they do that, but I really think they're sort of screwing themselves also. At the end of the day, people need to do what they think is best for them. But if I look at it, and I like to think objective, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. But if when a guy goes bouncing around from one place to the next, thinking, all right, I'm going to get my best, I'm okay with cross training, and we have some of that at the academy, because, like I said, it depends. I'm not going to train a high-level brown belt from an academy that's going to constantly compete against my own students. So, it's sort of like, if you want to be a member of this tribe, no problem. You're going to be one of us. But if you want to be, member, being two tribes, again, to some extent, it could be okay. Depends on the scenario. If most of my top guys, they fight and compete around, somewhere between 140 and 170. And if I think those guys are going to compete against my guys, then why don't you stay at your tribe and we'll square it away in competition. But so cross training is okay depending on the circumstances. But I think when people bounce around from I'm going to get this from this guy, I'm going to get it from that guy, I'm going to get from this guy, I'm going to get from this guy, because they might see that this guy's particularly good at something and this guy's good most of the time they think they're going to wind up with a thing of beauty. Instead they wind up with a Frankenstein.
Nice.
Well said.
Good analogy.
Yeah,
I
Well
like
said.
that.
Well said.